Welcome, welcome, welcome to Mending Threads. This is your safe place and your stronghold for whole body wellness. We're transformation series looking at health and wellness, mind, body, and spirit. And we have some talks today, and we're going to look at this both from life perspective, psychologically, and biblically. And so we have chosen a topic today, which is wisdom for better health. And so we have a speaker that's going to join us this morning. Of course, we have our co-host, Pastor Reverend Dr. Samuel Massey of Real Life Christian Church, and I would like to bring him on. Pastor Massey, good morning, good afternoon, because when the show airs, it will be evening.
Good morning.
Yes.
How are you doing this morning?
Just great. So I'm excited just to be here this morning because so much has gone on this week. But for us to be able to talk about this topic that has been chosen, and I think it is a befitting topic, wisdom for better health. And so we want to look at that. So you have a guest this morning, a person who is, and I've met this person before and know her. And I'm really pleased that we're able to get her on because she is a registered nurse and she's been interested in nursing and healthcare for many years. And I know probably since at least since I'm not going to date her, but I was going to say at least since the 90s. I don't want to date somebody just because I'm dated. So I want to say I know that she has had many years of experience. She's worked with youth and families. She's worked in hospitals like Park Plaza. She's worked with family practitioners in office hours. And I know that she has many licenses and that she's licensed to practice not only in vocational thing, but she has also been a Fit for Life coach here in Houston. And she's also a person that's active in health and mental health at a Real Life Christian Church. And I do want to welcome our person today, Nurse Maud Trahan. Okay, welcome. So today I'm so glad to see you again. I miss seeing you. And there are people that you've gone through experiences with, and when they say something, you then begin to think of some fun things. I remember when we were studying in the health management, the self-management thing, and I remember in different places we were going in to eat, trying to find certain kinds of foods and the funny things we would say. So I just want to welcome you today to talk about it because I know you bring a wealth of information just by being here. So Pastor Massey, she has chosen this topic of wisdom for better health. So I really want to know, Nurse Maud, when you even know, because you're a registered nurse, what is better health? What is your point of view about better health or health? What do you? Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, consists of a lifetime change. It's not just something that you do for a short period of time and then you change your habits and then you go back into your old habits. So, better health is consistently doing something that's doable that you can sustain. Yes, it's a doable. It's a doable thing.
Right. And so as we talk about health, I know Pastor Mass is going to be then talk about things as it's talked in the Bible or biblically spoken or historically spoken. So what I'd really like to then say is, well, what, from your point of view, how does this wisdom, what is wisdom from your point of view?
My point of view, wisdom is something that you acquire. It's not like I don't even know how to put it into words. It's when you change your way of thinking, your behavior. That all has to do with wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, Pastor Master, do you have a word on that?
Well, you know, the Bible teaches in Proverbs, it says that wisdom is the principal thing, but in all your wisdom, get an understanding. And when you think about it spiritually, wisdom is the exact word of God, and you take
Mm-hmm.
the word of God to apply to yourself to help yourself, and then
Mm-hmm.
also use that same word to help others. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to, even though you get the word, you have to really understand the word, because sometimes people get the word and it's just knowledge, and they really don't have a real good understanding of what it means and how to apply it to their lives. So once
Mm-hmm.
you grasp the understanding of the word, then you can start applying it to your life to change
Mm-hmm.
your life and to change the lives of others.
So so Nurse Maud did say a word. So I would say then, so then the consistency, and I'm stating this for our audience. So then the consistency of applying the application and interfacing with things, in terms of an experience, getting understanding over time, um, as an experience. Then what is that? What you're saying, Nurse Mark, actually brings on understanding or wisdom.
Right. It brings on understanding. And once you understand it, it's like something that you can apply because you understand it. You can apply it to your life and then you can help others around
Mhm.
you also
Mhm.
to accomplish the same wisdom that you're acquiring.
Right. So then, how would so some circumstances? I was doing some reading last week, and they were saying that we keep making the same mistakes, even though we have a desire for change, because we're not looking at ourselves. We're not looking at the experience we have. We're only looking at what we have in our head, the desires. But we're not looking at actually the mistakes that we're making, and that's why we're in the same place. We're doing the same thing. We have the same habits.
Yeah, it's like doing the same thing over and over and you trying to accomplish something different, but you're doing the same thing over and over and you're getting the same results.
Right. Because we're looking ahead of ourselves and not with ourselves. So
Right.
then wisdom would be having learned, having understood that you're doing that, and being able to initiate the changes or observe yourself to make the changes that we needed to make. Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So then, how would how would how would one express that to another person to convince them the importance of wisdom? What is the importance of wisdom in life? For wealth and health.
Well,
I'm
once you
throwing it
learn,
out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
once you learn better, you'll do better. If you acquire wisdom, then you will do better. You won't keep falling into that same trap or going down that same rabbit hole because you'll learn
Mm-hmm.
from.
Right.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
And basically, when dealing with health, better health, it could be physical, it could be spiritual, it could even be
Mm-hmm.
financial, um,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of and but I guess the biggest issue is eating habits. A lot of times people develop the wrong eating habits, and it comes from infancy. It's very funny how uh, you take a baby and feed a baby pablum, oatmeal, and stuff like that with no sugar in it, and they eat it down and just love it. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, they get older, and now they need to have sugar, pounds and pounds of sugar in it, and butter, and all this different stuff. And it's not because of the child's bad habit, it's
Mm-hmm.
because of the parents' bad habits. because the
Mhm.
parents is saying in their mind, this is the way I like it. And they have gotten
Mhm.
overweight and everything has happened wrong to them because of it, the bad habit. And then they start feeding their children the way they eat. The
Yes.
child would never came to that had you not introduced sugar to them. They would have loved it just the way they had it as a baby. But
Right.
because you added the sugar and you added the butter because that's what you wanted. And so
Right.
now your child start looking like you. you know,
Right.
you uh
That's true. And Pastor, so for both of you, so do you remember that they had a big special on TV about how health goes wrong at birth? Not even when the mother is eating what she eats during pregnancy, but mothers or dads who actually feed their children sugar water, and
I
that's
didn't
how
see
we.
the special. I didn't see it, but I know about it because I've heard
Yes,
parents say, "Give
yes,
them some sugar water."
yes,
It's,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
they
And
don't have no food.
that's where we're learning how sugar modulates our moods, you
Yeah,
see. And so over time, I have people who have tension deficit hyperactivity disorder. The reason why this topic is so well, and the man this morning, the one that I'm sending to you, was speaking about his anger. And he was talking about when sometimes after dinner he just becomes more angry in certain situations. And he does have a attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but his medication keeps him vacillating back and forth with anger. So he gets so angry, he hits the walls, putting holes in the walls. And we were talking about, when you talk about wisdom, we were talking about how you think about things, how your thoughts are there all the time, and how your thoughts affect your emotions, you see. And so two things we're talking about: sugar and how we think, our emotional selves. Yes.
Not only sugar, sugar and salt. That's what's killing us. And
Yes.
much is not good at all.
Yes.
And when we were coming up, our parents wouldn't would limit us, with the sugar and the sweets because they know that the sugar was going to cause cavities. You give
Yes.
your and then like you talking about sugar water, giving a baby sugar water when they have teeth coming in, and you let that baby suck on sugar water all night or some kind of formula with all this excess sugar in it, it's gonna affect their teeth. It's
Yes.
gonna affect more than their teeth. But salt and sugar is the main thing that's really killing us.
Yes. Well, I'll share this with you. So sometimes you don't know. This is the opposite of wisdom. Sometimes you're just uninformed and you don't know. So I can remember being young, and my father would actually bring groceries on a Friday. He would get groceries. He would get off work early on a Friday, and he'd stop by, and he was the one to actually bring groceries. So if we were out of jelly or syrup or something, what my brothers and I would actually do is make a butter and sugar sandwich. We had no idea how bad it was. You understand? Now, I know people on here go like butter and sugar, but I wanted to tell you at that time it was tasting okay. It was good enough to hold us until my father would bring groceries home. But if we had known, you see what I'm talking about in terms of wisdom and
Mhm.
understanding, we had no idea of what the sugar and the butter together, eating like that, and the bread was actually doing to our body and our brain,
Yeah.
you
And
see.
another thing is that once you find out the truth and you realize uh, the bad part of it, now you need to change, but you can't change because you
Yes.
become addicted. Now
Yes.
you're addicted to it. And you
Right.
say, well, I'm going to stop doing this. But you find your body craving it. And so even though you want to stop, every time you see a big, huge piece of cake and you know you like cake, the first thing you're going to do is grab it and eat it.
Yes.
And now your head starts swimming because of all that sugar. You know, it's an addiction that's hard to break. You
Yes.
know, so people try to get on diet stuff
Mhm.
that's supposed to be not be sugar, but also we've in studies we find out that diet drinks and stuff like that is also bad for you to continue to be on it. So the addiction goes from one bad habit to another bad habit because you're trying to still keep the sweet.
It's the satisfaction, they call it satiation, the satisfaction until, and that's what I was trying to talk with some doctors about, um, that we're trying to reach that same satisfaction level. And so the secret would be to find something that gives a similar satisfaction in a healthy manner. You know, when they tell you not to do, to break an addiction, you either going to have to do something generally when you quit to substitute, whether it's going to be running, walking, chewing gum, or uh, something, bubble gum. That's what helped me years ago to stop smoking, was to chew bubble gum. Okay. Or something like that. That was my transition thing. Um, so some things, and so we're talking about, and Nurse Maud can know this, that we're talking about that part of the brain, and more than one, but that habit forming of the parietal lobe there on the brain, all those little habits are just going in there with messages to stay there, you see. And
But
so that,
even artificial sugar that they put in the drinks or what they put in the food, it still doesn't satisfy your brain when your brain is still looking for that sugar because you are addicted to it. And
yeah,
that artificial sugar is still not taking away that craving or that addiction.
yes,
And until you rid your body of all of that sugar, even when if you take yourself off of sugar and you read the labels and see how much sugar is in stuff, and you are counting the carbs that you're eating, if you notice when you eat a meal that's high in sugar and carbs, what happened to you? You get this burst of energy and
yes,
then you get the crash. And some people wonder why, when I finish eating, I get so sleepy that I can't keep my eyes open. I want to go to sleep. It's because you fed your body all of these carbs, and then you had that burst of energy, and now you're coming down. So you're crashing. And especially diabetics, they wonder why, okay, well, why am I getting so sleepy after I eat? This meal. You get sleepy because you've eaten all the wrong foods that's making you crash.
yes. So then it would be a question, if we're talking wisdom, and that's happening to us over and over, and it's difficult for to do that. So then what we're saying is that something has to happen for someone to stop, to just begin to gain certain experiences that would lead them toward wisdom. Something has to um, interrupt the cycle. And
So
I'm getting ready. Yeah, I'm getting ready to ask the question of some things that yes.
no, go ahead, ask your question.
You see, so I wanted to, if something has to happen, and as helpers, nurses, pastors, what is it that keeps us on the downturn, even though it's a craving, when we see that we're losing a toe, when we see that we'll lose a foot, when we see that different things, eyesight. I have a man that I knew who was a therapist, and he lost his eyesight through diabetes. And you just couldn't, he just didn't stop. And he knew he could bring anyone else to healing, but he would not stop. And he lost his eyesight. I don't know what's happening now with him. But so my question was always looking at that, is what internally would need to have happened to bring him to wisdom to see that there was a connection between what he was doing and his health and the loss and eventuating in the loss of his eyesight.
Well, I would say that first of all, you have to bring the person to the point to realize that they're living in denial. Um, they don't realize that they really have a problem, that they by themselves cannot overcome this problem.
Right.
So, and celebrate recovery that we have at Real Life. You know, we have groups that comes together that deals with the hangups and the habits and the hurts, and people that's similar to yourself can help you and also be accountability partner to kind
Mm-hmm.
of guide you through this and help you through it, because
Mm-hmm.
you know the Bible will tell you, you know, two is better than one. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you by yourself, when you fall, you have no one to help get you up. But
Mm-hmm.
two coming together can help. You know, somebody that's weak in an area, you know, you let them know, hey, when you're struggling, call me, because many times you want to do something, but you put yourself in the environment to fall. So you have to try to tell people, first of all, if you're trying to get rid of, if you're trying to stop eating wrong, you have to stop buying the food. That's the first step. You can't buy this food, you can't have it in your house. And then don't go around people that have that kind of stuff. You know, if you know they're going to have it, even though they're inviting you, don't go, because you know you're not strong enough to stay away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, you have to develop some techniques that's going to keep you away from those things that's calling you to fall. And uh, and that's when you begin to overcome, I would say, overcome the bad habits. And the more
Mm-hmm.
you stay away from it, the less you really need it and desire it. But you have to replace it with something else healthier. It's just,
Right.
I love candy, and candy is sweet. Replace candy with fruit. You know, fruit has a natural sweet in it, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
bad like uh, refined sugar. It's still
Mm-hmm.
sweet. You're still getting something sweet, feeding your sweet tooth, but you're doing it with something healthier. And so you have to learn how to, and then you have to get wisdom from other people. You have
Mm-hmm.
those that been there, done that, and overcome can help you. Like somebody like Maud, and Maud might want to share in that area how she has helped maybe somebody else as she had experienced personally things that she did to overcome. Then she showed others. So, Maud, do you have anything that you might want to share in that area?
Well, first I want to tell you about the celebrate recovery. When you're talking about recovery, when people hear that celebrate, I mean the recovery part, they'll the first thing they think about is drugs and alcohol. But drugs and alcohol is not the only addiction. They don't look at it that food isn't can be an addiction, just like drugs and alcohol. And with me, I had, like Pastor Massey said, I love chocolate. And then when you go to the grocery store, when you're at the checkout, they have all this chocolate just
Right at the counter. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at the grocery store. So that's enticing you to buy the wrong stuff. I find that if I go to the store and I'm hungry, when I get to the store, I'm going to buy everything, not everything, but I'm going to buy a lot of things that I would not have bought if I hadn't been hungry. I'm going to buy something that I can open up right in the package and eat it. Not something that I'm thinking about going home and cooking a healthy meal. I'm gonna get the quick fix at the grocery store. And me, for myself, I had to just get rid of the craving for the sugar. I couldn't just say, okay, well, I'm gonna stop eating sugar. No, I had to do a fast. I had to get all this craving, this sugar, and this
Mhm.
salt desire for it out of my system. So I did like a 24-hour fast or a 36-hour fast. And if you find that once you get rid of that addiction, that craving, if you go back and just taste it, some sugar, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is too sweet because you have gotten rid of that desire, that taste, and want for that sugar. If you taste in the food, places that I would go eat and buy their food, it was too salty now. I'm like, oh, why they put all this salt on it? But you ate it in the past because you was addicted to it. It was satisfying to you. You had to get. I used to go to the restaurant, and before I even taste the food, I'm shaking some salt on. I'm
Yes,
putting
yes, yes.
before I even taste it because it was kind of a habit. I ain't even tasted. I don't know that it needed
Mhm.
more, but it was just a habit, and I had to change. It was a lifestyle change for me. It wasn't just like I could say I'm gonna do this for a short period of time or call it a diet. Okay, I've died. I done lost this 60 pounds, and now I can go back. No, you can't. You can't go back to
Mhm.
what you were doing in the past because that's what brought you there in the first place. And I was determined I'm just not gonna go back. And I'm conscious, like some people say, oh, I just gained a couple of pounds. But if you think about it, if you gain a couple of pounds over a year, how many over years and years of gaining a couple of pounds, now you didn't gain 20, 30 pounds because you didn't
Mhm.
put this off. And it's easier to get it off and when you putting it on rather than to let it stay there and then you try to do it. And it's harder each time. It's like God give you an escape out of any situation. And if
Mhm.
you don't escape, that's the easy. That first one is the easy one. And if you don't take it and you go back, it's gonna get harder and harder and harder. And that's what
Mhm.
I find with sugar and salt. That it gets harder if you go back. Once you get rid of it, don't go back to it. Like Pastor
Mhm.
Michael said, don't go around it. If you know these people is gonna have all this kind of stuff, when you get there,
Mhm.
you need to. If you if somewhere you have to go, you need to okay say, well, I'm gonna bring my own whatever I'm gonna eat, or I'm gonna eat it before I get there. And I'm gonna tell myself when I get there, I'm full, even if they offer you stuff. Because some of people try to force it on you. Here, okay, well, just take this with you. No, don't bring it in the house because you already know you can't control yourself. When they bring
Right.
them cupcakes in there and them cookies in there, and just by you passing by it over and over, it's like the experiment what they did with the rats. They gave the rats some drugs, and because it made them feel good, that rat will go back and keep that mice will go back and keep eating, keep getting it, and keep getting it. They don't have no control of it because they're addicted to it now. So it's the
Right.
same thing. You pass by that sweets and them sweets and good, and you know you love that like that. You're gonna find
Yeah.
yourself thinking about it. You're gonna find yourself going back downstairs and eating it when you know you didn't really need it. Then you're sorry that you messed up. But I find that if I mess up, I know it's always tomorrow. I'm not gonna kick myself about messing up, but I'm gonna say tomorrow I'm this is gonna be a better day. Tomorrow,
Right.
yesterday is behind me. Tomorrow, today is gonna be a better day because I know God's mercy is new every morning. So I messed up. Now I have a. This is a new day for me to
That's
do
right.
right, do the thing that I'm supposed to do.
Right. And I think also, I think sometimes we as human beings, we know we need to do certain things, but we don't make it realistic. I think we are, Pastor Massey, in some form of denial. We are, or we don't have the information to see. I know Dr. Atkins talks. He says when you get ready to go somewhere, look at exactly what your hand is getting ready to do, and ask yourself the question before you put it in your mouth: is this what your body really needs? Are you trying to do this? And he was telling us to hesitate on the first few 5 bites, and that way you have an opportunity to stop amidst the situation. You see, and but many people that I'm talking with think that I know that everybody is telling the hospitals, the doctors, the nurses are saying you're overweight. But you know, in my culture, people are just heavy. Or there are things that we say to ourselves, we're just big bone. Or, or the thing about it is I'm just eating this today. And all the excuses we make, but we haven't internalized the connection between what we're doing and our life, the importance of living, or what has been given to us as a life. You see, we have been given today or this moment, and we don't see how precious that moment of time is. And we don't see, speaking of wisdom, we don't see the connection between the eating, the overweight, and the health. It's really sometimes I'm listening to people. And I had a man this past week that says, I've been eating this. I'm 68 years old and I've been eating this all my life. My mama cooked this and all her life. And I don't see any reason why I need to do this. And I see people actually have health issues and they're still doing it.
Yeah, and
Like he said, they're in denial. They're in it. They diabetics. They already know what this sugar is just tearing their body up in the inside. And just because they can't see what's going on inside of them, they continue to do the same thing. They can continue to eat wrong. And they'll say, okay, I'll just take more insulin. But the sugar
Yeah,
is
yes,
tearing
that's exactly
up
what they
your
said.
body.
Mhm.
It's tearing you up in the inside, and you can't see all the damage that the sugar is doing because the sugar is causing you to have the kidney disease, the kidney failure, and the high blood pressure. It's high cholesterol. The sugar and the salt is causing all of this, and they are in denial even when you explain it to them and tell them what it's doing to them. Because I know people that's diabetic, like you said, the guy was losing his sight
Yeah.
because, yeah, because of he not eating the right diet. And he continued to eat it, and they'll continue to eat it until they get that leg or foot amputated. And when they tell them, okay, your feet, this is what's going on, and they'll say, oh, no, 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 don't take it off. They'll keep it on until they have to chop their leg off because they're
Mhm.
still denial. And the doctor can't force them or make them, but they can explain it to them, if they would listen. Now, something
Well,
very
so Nurse Maud, I want to see this and Pastor. Okay, what happens and what could we talk about in that area to offer interventions? People may not have the strength to make the change. The addiction might be too strong. Sometimes you have to decrease the desire some kind of way. So I know they used to do that. They used to give you something to decrease the strength of a desire. And then they would introduce the new behavior, the information. So is it that we need to look at infusing the words, the message, the understanding, while simultaneously maybe giving them something to reduce the chemical desire?
well,
I'm
you
just
know,
throwing it out there.
there's a lot of natural things that you
right.
can do to help yourself, but you have to do them. You know, if you really want deliverance and if you really want change, then you have to follow the instructions of the person that's helping you. Because it's just
Mhm.
like a person told me that they were having migraine headaches. And so I asked the person, I said, well, do you drink coffee with caffeine in it? And they say, yes. Do you eat a lot of sweets or you drink a lot of sodas? Yes. And so I explained to them, I said, well, one can of soda have a cup of sugar in it. And you let them see what a cup of sugar look like. This how much sugar is in that one can of soda. So every time you drink
Right.
one, think about it. You're
Mhm.
drinking this much sugar. And then also the caffeine, I said, you're not drinking water. You're drinking water in your coffee. So you're not drinking water, you're drinking water in your coffee. I said, and caffeine has been known to help cause migraine headaches. I said, so if you stop drinking the soda and you stop drinking the caffeine, the coffee with caffeine in it, then actually you won't have any more migraine headaches. And it's sometimes people don't believe you when you tell them things like that. They think that, oh, you're just trying to keep me from drinking my coffee, or you're trying to keep me from drinking my soda. I love my soda. I love my coffee. I said, but what you can do, and you have to tell them what they have to do. Every time you think about drinking coffee, or every time you're thinking about drinking a can of soda, drink a glass of water instead. Just drink a glass of water instead, and try to develop a habit of every time that thought comes, change that thought to a new thought, to drinking water instead of drinking soda or drinking coffee. And then the more they do it, when they start seeing how good they feel as a result of doing that, if they stay off it, if they can do that just for a week, and then if they go back and drink that soda or drink that coffee, immediately they'll see how their head feel, because usually your head starts swimming as soon as you drink that stuff that you have been drinking all this time, not realizing that that's how you've been feeling all this time and didn't even know it.
Didn't even know it.
Didn't know it. So once they realize this is the reason why I've been feeling the way I'm feeling, because of these things that I'm putting in my body. So you have to actually help them to know this is what's going to happen to you once you go back to doing, if you do the wrong thing. And so once they see, because sometimes people just have to see that you're telling them the truth. And once they realize that you're telling them the truth, then they're more encouraged to try to do the right thing. And so those are the type of tools. That's one of the tools that you can use to help people. And then if you know things about natural ways, natural products that also they can take to help themselves, you can try to introduce them to those type of things as well.
Right. I had another person, Nurse Maud, that might be an individual. She's a mother, seriously depressed, overweight. She says she just can't stop sleeping, and she hates her job, but she's spending most of her time sleep away from her children. And so she takes them to school and she comes back. And I said, well, what do you eat when you come back? When they come in the school, and after, she says they just want to eat cereal. So they're just eating cereal after school and dinner, or sandwiches. And so I said, well, wonder what would happen if they ate other kind of food. If they ate food, they're acting out in school and she's depressed. So one of the things is that people don't see the connection between food and behavior. Like Pastor Massey was saying, they could have just do this, and this is why but people just don't. Generally, we do not see the connection. Now you do, Nurse Ma, because you've been in medicine. I mean, you're watching, you're taking care of people, you're prescribing recommendations for them and everything, but that they don't see the real connection between what happens to them, because Pastor Master just said what you think. They don't see the connection between their thoughts and what they're doing, and the connection between food, the thought about food, and what's happening to them.
Well, you say this research, and some people is not aware of this. They said that the average person consumes 150 pounds of sugar per year. That in they research and see how much sugar is in the soda, like Pastor Massey gave the can of soda, but the milkshakes. They'll go and get a large, and they making the containers larger and larger,
Larger, larger. Right.
larger and larger. Because I gave an example about the seats in the church when I talked at the church about better wisdom, wisdom for better health. The If you look at the seats in the church today and compare them to the seats that when I grew up in the church in the 60s and the 70s, the average seat was 18 inches wide. Now the average seat in the church is 24 inches because our posteriors is steady spreading. And they make chairs bigger now. Some places where they do the bariatric surgery, they don't want the people to feel like they are any different than the average person. So they have these bigger chairs that they can sit in. And you'll see some small chairs, and then you'll see this very large chair because we're getting larger, we're getting bigger, and they're not addressing that. They're making money off of us because of the way our lifestyles. This is a lifestyle change that we need to make because we're just going down the wrong and going in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's bringing it to our attention of the bad habits that we're doing.
So they say if you're going to, the way you get started is change the size of everything that you do. So when you order something, change the size of your plate, change the size of your cup. And when you go get something to drink, get one cup, the smaller cup that you get, and then the next one would be to drink water if you need more. That's to get started. So somebody say, I just can't cut it out. So when you really look at it, so we used to do a training, if you remember, and we had a person to bring their plate. But when they brought their plate would be this big. That's the plate that they ate out of. And the plate that you're supposed to eat out of is a plate like that. So,
Yeah.
so if we change the size of everything, it would really help us. And then we move to looking at what we're putting on there, you see,
Right.
to give us a start. So Pastor Massey mentioned something, which is so, I believe in this, and it's about, even when we talked about the plate size, is what thoughts, that the way that we think is like giving excuses. The thought that we put in our head. I remember one time I had taken care of my mother and she was sick. And then my uncle got sick. So I had her. And then I had another relative I was helping to do that. And I was working. So when I'd come home, I'd have these two people go by and take care of this person. Then I had this person there. And so I had it in my mind that on Friday, I deserved something good. And so so I already knew that I was going to do something wrong on Friday. So I knew I was going to have fried fish. Now, I'm going to tell you how, and I'm going to share something with you now. So I knew I was going to have fried fish, and I was going to either have me a piece of pie or a cake. I just knew that. And now here's my thought in my mind, that I deserved something good because I had suffered all week. I ran across my book that I was writing in, my diary, my journal. And I had in my mind that I had suffered all week with doing all these things, and I just needed a little something. Well, the little something that I chose was not really healthy, was not really good for me. Now, this is how I know it now that I don't do it anymore. The same piece of fish, I didn't know it had that much salt on it, Nurse Maud. The same piece of fish I can eat now, and I can tell by how the fluid in my body. And I can tell the amount of salt. I can eat something salty, and I can tell it. So see, I was putting that in my body over time. And now I can tell the damage that it was doing since I don't do it anymore. I can see the impact of the behavior since I've changed the thought that I had about it, you see.
Because you'll be more conscious of the salt because you gave up this salt. then you realize that it was a lot. You were eating a whole lot of salt.
A whole lot of salt.
Read the labels. Now, when I read the labels, I went to the store and I bought some canned soup. It was some tomato soup. And when I read the label and saw all that sodium that was in that soup, I could not eat that. So I had to make my own tomato soup because you already know what's
Mhm.
going on. Even when you go
Yes.
to the restaurant, they may tell you that it's less of this and that and less of that. Unless you cooking it your own self, you don't know what they putting in there. Your
Yes.
best bet is to try to prepare your own meal, and you will know what's in there because you'll be surprised at the things. My grandson has a heart condition and he has to have limited salt or no salt, and you'll be surprised if you cook and you didn't. I would cook the food and I was like, oh, I know nobody's going to eat this because I didn't add no added salt to it. But then when they came and ate it, nobody said anything about, it ain't didn't have enough salt in it.
Salt.
Nobody added any salt. They ate it just like it was. And
Yes.
I was like, okay, it's just become a habit that we was adding all this stuff to it, and we didn't really have to add that to it for it
Right.
to taste good.
Right. But we started off talking about wisdom being knowledge and how we use knowledge over time. And maybe I guess we're saying that the lack of it, the lack of knowledge, the lack of knowledge kind of impairs wisdom. And so, but Pastor Massey was saying something about, and I want to go back to that because I really believe that we think ourselves sick, that we actually think ourselves into trouble. And so I know that um, we're really looking at coaching and informing people, even how when you read poetry and how you pray and how you read the word can have a lot to do with how your body is going to heal, how you're going to change the way you think. And so I'm gonna ask Pastor Manson to talk a little bit about wisdom, and then I'm gonna come back to you, Nurse Maud, to see how you would develop other ways of developing wisdom. And so, Pastor
Yeah,
Manson, you could share some things like yes. So
yeah.
our
Well,
list. Mhm.
basically, when we talk about wisdom, and if you specifically is talking about the Word of God, that's one
Mhm.
thing. It's scripture from the Bible, and then using that same scripture to apply it to your life. But
Mhm.
at the same time, you can take a mathematics book and you read it. Well, actually, that's giving you knowledge of math. But at the same time, if you don't understand the theory and how to apply it, then it's not going to do you any good because
Mhm.
I can take all the theory in the world and see how I got to something, and then I give my class some homework. I say, now take this theory and do your homework and apply it to the problems. Well, they come back the next day and say, I still don't understand how to solve them. So that means that they didn't understand the theory and how to apply it. And saying that's basically what wisdom is. You have the information, but
Mhm.
if you don't know how to use it, and if you don't understand it, it's not going to do you any good. And so
Mhm.
basically, that's what wisdom is. Wisdom, you have all the information. You can have
Mhm.
all the book knowledge that you want.
That's right.
But if you can't apply that to a
Mhm.
real life situation, it's
Mhm.
not going to do you any good. So you have to be taught how to use the knowledge that you
Mhm.
have, which is called wisdom, to help yourself and to help others. And so basically, that's what wisdom is all about. They said that's why I say wisdom is the principal thing. But in
Yes.
all thy getting, get an understanding. Get an understanding of the wisdom or the knowledge that you have. Otherwise, it's not going to do you any good.
Right. So the practical use of it, for our listeners, I really would like for them to join and visit your church. Um, and I want you to kind of tell them where it is. I know it's on Alameda Genoa Road, but I don't know. But I like the format of what you believe, and then looking at putting the life principles to the Bible, putting daily living to the Bible, to the Word, and then looking at practical ways of using it in your life. Whether you're talking anger and whether you're talking substance, whether you're talking overeating, because I do think that anger is a void of some things that we need to think, and also how we respond to situations, a need for expression in a healthy environment. And so I'm really inviting our audience, and I've been doing it to try to go and visit to see what it's about and to look at, are there ways that we could begin to think about health in a different manner? Can we begin to look at the words that people tell us, put vision to it, imagery to it, and actually start walking every day in more peace and harmony and health? So I'm going to ask each one of you, Nurse Maud, I do want to hear what you have to say to give people like a next step for wisdom, for better health.
Well, one thing that I wanted to say is that with the computer class that we're taking, that A plus STEM
Yes,
class,
yes,
instructor, he had a good point. He said that we need to create new memory. We need to delete all this old stuff out and make room for new memory. We don't need that old stuff. We need to delete it out. We need to change our attitude. We need to have a positive attitude. And we need to believe that applying to health, according to health, we need to believe that we have better health. We need to believe, see ourselves as being healthy, because your mind has a whole lot to do with how you respond to things. So if you
mm-hmm.
want to see yourself succeeding, you have to see yourself succeeding. You have to see yourself winning. You have to have a positive attitude. You have to believe that you can have a better health. And you just by you changing, deleting all this old stuff out of your head, making room for new stuff, and stop living in the past. Change the way you think, change your attitude, and you can see yourself being healthy. You can see
Yes,
yourself winning. You can see yourself succeeding. He
yes,
had, I never thought about, deleting the old memory. And I was like, okay, because he was comparing our brains. He said a computer is built like our brain is built, and we need to get
yes,
that old stuff, delete that old stuff out, and make room for new.
yes. Oh, that's so good. That's excellent what you just said. That is so true. That's so true. Thank you. And we're gonna use that. I'm gonna put that under your name. I'm gonna put that. We're gonna coin that and use that for wellness. That's right. Hmm. And
Make some room.
Massey, would you like to leave us with a word?
Well, it's just like Nurse Trahan was saying, the Bible said, as a man thinketh, so is the man. And so if I can put some new thoughts, because that's what's going to make it or break it, is
Right.
that I need to think differently. And
Yes.
once I begin to think differently, then I can do differently. Because
Right.
as a man thinketh, so is the man. As a woman thinketh, so is the woman. As a
Yes.
child thinketh, so is the child. The way you think is the way you're going to respond to life. So we're
Hmm.
going to have to definitely think differently.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. I do want to say thank you to Real Life Christian Church. And what can you give me the exact address of your church?
Yeah, Real Life Christian Church is on 3635 Alameda Genoa Road, Houston, Texas, 77047. That's 3635 Alameda Genoa Road, Houston, Texas, 77047. And
Okay.
sometimes people think Alameda because it's Alameda and Alameda Genoa Road. So they have to really realize that it's not Alameda, but it's Alameda Genoa Road.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you, Reverend Dr. Samuel Massey, for being here today and sharing information, and also for our registered nurse Maud being here and looking at wisdom for better health. So I just want to thank our audience for being here, those of you who are on Facebook, and those of you who will see us on Culture Vision TV, 7 p.m. So make sure that everybody, you download the app on Culture Vision TV. On your phone, you can walk around and tell your friends. They can see and talk and get all this information at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evenings. So again, thank you. So remember, renew beliefs, rebuild faith, and reconnect families and communities. For it's not the circumstances that we meet, it is the manner in which we respond that determines health, happiness, and success. Go onto our website, wrc-houston.com, and get more information about what you can do as a leader in your community. Sign up to be a mental health coach. And we have webinars that are coming on that you'll be able to sign up, get your CEUs, but also get more knowledge and gain wisdom. So I look forward to seeing you same place, same time, same station on next week. Okay, again, thanks to everybody.
Right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.